Hello, my name is Kevin Robinson. You may remember me from such bands as Viva Voce, Francis, Electric Eel, Blue Giant, etc. I am in a band presently called Goth Daddy, and right now you are listening to a podcast called The Rumors Are True.
Welcome, this is Jeremy Allen Gould, and I'm coming to you today to confirm between God and of man that the rumors you have all heard are true. I started this podcast to have a platform for the bands and artists that I've worked with in the past, as well as new musicians and artists that influenced myself and many others. The Rumors Are True podcast is an opportunity for the artists to tell their story their way. I'm still in the business of confirming rumors. I still love a good conversation, and I still freaking love music. So thanks again for joining me on this journey, and I hope you like what you hear. With that said, the rumors are definitely true. Thank you for tuning in to this latest episode of the Rumors Are True podcast. My name is Jeremy, and today I welcome my new partners, Joey and Jared Svendsen. You know Joey from the BadChristian podcast, as well as Pastor with No Answers podcast. This is a special episode talking about the Roster Music Club. So stay tuned to this latest episode with Joey, Jared, and myself. So, hello, gentlemen.
What's up,
Hello.
man? I don't think I've talked to you and seeing your face. I've talked to you on the phone.
Well, no, we
So
FaceTime last week.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, you
That's right.
forgot my
It's good
face. I get it. I
I
understand.
know. Good to see you again, man.
I've listened to like 7 or 8 of your episodes in like 5 days.
Dude,
They've
which
been
one?
Really,
Which ones?
really entertaining.
Thank you.
Right now, I'm listening to Matt Johnson. I listened to the Snapcase, Chad Neptune, Strong Arm, Gyro. I know I'm forgetting one or
Yeah,
two. But
dude, those are some of my favorites for sure.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
wild. Thank you so much. I
Mhm.
appreciate all the kind
Yeah.
words. Like, for real, like, it's been a journey and like a very fulfilling journey without making a dime, if that makes sense. Like, it really has been awesome. Now I'm ready to make money.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, man, when they hit me up for podcast advice, I mean, unless they have like something very unique going on, like financial backing or something, I'm like, first and foremost, do not start one if it's for the money, because
Yeah.
it's so hard to build momentum, and you got to really be doing it because you love it and you like what you're talking
Absolutely.
about.
And I love it. I absolutely love everything I've ever done. I just like, now I'm like, okay, I feel like at this point, I just passed 1,600 subscribers, which is pretty
That's
decent.
great, man.
And I'm about
That's
almost
phenomenal.
160,000 streams. So it's like, I'm in a good spot. I just,
Mm-hmm.
I've tried. I feel like this is something that I've, been praying for. Like I told you the other day, I just feel like, I just want something that makes sense for everyone and just is amazing for everyone. I want it to be a benefit, a life-giving thing.
Yeah.
So
I think so I was telling Jared this, that I think that we may be surprised as far as the a slower initial growth than what we anticipated. Because
I agree.
When we did Bad Christian, the BC Club, I was just like, oh man, this is going to be instant money. And it turned into that like over 2 or 3 months. And man, just from the club, we were bringing in maybe $8,000 or $9,000 a month. That's split between 3 people, but that's great.
That's great money.
But I thought it was just going to explode right away. But man, human nature, most people will be like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. I'll sign up for that maybe one day. And then it just takes a few times. So I think, though, the kind of stuff that we've been talking about and some of the ideas we've been spewing around, I just think over time it's something that people are going to want to engage
and if we
but
get...
I could be wrong about
that.
No,
I think if that second show, which I feel like we can get Gyro for that, I feel like that would be a good thing. Like, oh my God, Gyro is playing. Like, or like Kevin Clay, which I don't know if you know who he is, but he's from My Little Dog China. He's like super prolific, and like I had him on. That's an incredible episode, by the way. But he's just one of those guys who rarely does it, and he's like, "Yeah, sign me up." And then Bill from the Throws, like all these people that I feel like people are like would geek out about. Like I feel like that is kind of the diamond in the rough of it all. Man.
Yeah, obviously we're recording tonight, but let's figure out who we 3 think that a second lineup would be good, because I think we should have that established by the time we start launching this, so that people have motivation, to get in on the private show sort of thing. And I even thought Aaron Sprinkle.
I just talked to Matthew Schwartz yesterday, by the way, who does moon traveling with him.
Okay,
and I kind of let him know a little bit about this, and he was down to do it, and I was like, I could hit I have Aaron's number, so I could hit him up. I just kind of wanted to throw it out there, so it's not like out of the blue type thing.
Yeah. So I can tell you, according to the list, we have Shane from Dolores and Kevin Clay, Seth Roberts, Bill, and then Dan. And then interested, you had Charlie Martin, Jeff Cloud, Jamie from Guardian, and then Mark Lukes from Cool Hand Luke.
Yeah. And I'm sure we can get more for sure. Those are the ones I've just texted, when I'm sitting on the toilet.
Right. So. I hit up a witch to see if we could figure out bringing Eugene and Michael Knott on, and she said she's open to trying that.
Mike Warnke.
Mike Warnke, is he dead?
I think he's alive, and he's false. He's a false preacher. No, I don't know.
Is he really?
I heard he was full of shit. That's what I heard. But that's a rumor, guys.
Well, he came from Satanism, didn't he? Wasn't he like a Satanist before he became?
He said he was. But I heard
him and Roger Martinez are both fucking full of fucking shit, man.
Dude, Roger, we got to get him on. He would do it. I bet you he would do it. I bet you he would.
That'd be the best thing ever, man.
Hey, do you know our best friend Jesus? He's like, F you.
So that it's crazy. When I was younger, it was heartbreaking from a personal level. Like, oh man, Dave Bazan, are you kidding me? And now it's just kind of sad, because I've talked to Bazan a few times with BadChristian and stuff, but now he's probably my favorite artist.
He's incredible,
songwriter,
unbelievable.
And now from afar, it's just like it seems, and this is all speculative, it seems like he's a very sad person.
Yeah.
And not necessarily because he turned his back on God, but I mean, obviously the 3 of us would say that probably has something to do with it.
Absolutely.
But, his marriage, and I think there was some substance abuse, and I love that guy.
It's ironic because the reality is we are created to fill voids and like have those voids filled. And the only thing that really can fill it is Jesus. That's, I mean, anyone who's a Christian knows that. So you look at these other ways, they try to find various avenues to go, and nothing's, I mean, look at like Robin Williams, the freaking, things like that. It's like, he clearly was missing something. He had everything else, but it's kind of evident that he didn't have what we have, or, and I don't mean that in the wrong way.
No, I know.
Anyway.
Sweet, man.
Well, when do you want to start recording?
It has been recording all this time. So
should we just start like
if any of it's gold, I can edit out some of the stuff that we just said. But and Riverside captures separate tracks. I personally, and some of it, sometimes I'm like, I'm probably a little too anal, but I'm a pretty meticulous editor. So I take the separate tracks and turn the volume down when you're not talking and all that stuff. But I'll send you whatever you want.
Okay.
I can send you separate tracks. I can also send a magic mix, but I don't trust the magic mixes right now because it will, like if somebody ends a word with S and it's super important,
It's loud.
it's plural, for instance, it'll cut it off because it picks it up as like background noise. So right now, AI mixing is not where it needs to be.
Well, Joey,
yet.
if you want to take the time to make it sound pretty and just send me whatever you think is cool, I'm fine with that.
Cool.
My guy Wes, he is awesome, and by the way, he would probably he's one of those dudes who's just helped me kind of put this all together. He's got Pro Tools, and he kind of does his thing. I just let him do his thing. So anyway, yeah, whatever you want to do, whatever's easiest, I'm fine with that. I just want to make it sound cool. And I was interested in getting Riverside at some point. So do you like it?
I do. I don't know if it's top of the line for actual live streaming, but I haven't needed that component where I think, maybe with the music club, I would look into some other things. But I think Riverside is trying to cover all the bases and keep up with all the technological advances. But as far as mixing and I was cutting down on some of the magic mixing, but then there's sometimes like someone will send me something that they recorded off their phone, and I'll run it through a mix on Riverside, and it sounds like studio to the amateur ear.
Oh wow!
So it's like, whoa, that's so yeah, I like it a lot.
Cool, awesome.
Yep.
I was looking into getting it because Skype is ending in May, I think.
Really?
Yeah, like Microsoft is getting rid of it. So I'm going to have to do something at some point. And so I was like, yeah, probably. And I looked at it. It's like $24 a month. I feel like that's not the worst thing in the world. And I definitely will fill up all the hours that they, provide or whatever. So anyway, okay. Well, so with mine, if it's cool with you guys, I'll just I'll just introduce you guys, and then I'll, ask you what you've got going on in your life. Let's just talk about what we've got going individually. And then we'll talk about so this has to be different because I feel like I usually ask about influences and bands and records, but I feel like this is going to be a good portion of that. So let's just greet each other in terms of and this is cool. I love that. I love that this is like the first time we're talking. I think it's organic and it's cool and it's awesome. But yeah, let's talk about, what you're up to now. And then let's talk into let's just talk about music and how it kind of invaded our lives and came up. And then let's maybe after we've talked for, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes, let's kind of maybe aim towards the roster club and, kind of what we're trying, the vision. And I'll let you spearhead that, Joey, because, and we could just pitch in and just I don't know, just make it organic, make it cool, and we can edit out what we need to. Yeah, but I think it'll be a cool conversation because I feel like we're probably all on the same page in a lot of ways. So okay, cool. Well, let's get going and we'll do it.
Sweet.
Joey and Jared. How do you pronounce it? I want to make sure I did it right.
No, I want to hear you try.
Svendsen.
Pretty good.
Is it?
Pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, the D is silent. So
okay.
Just
Svendsen. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Joey and Jared Svendsen, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Really honored to have you guys on. So what's going on, guys?
What's up, man? This is one of my favorite things is to be a guest on somebody else's podcast. I'm serious.
Yes.
Because I podcast so much and I have to be behind the steering wheel. And now I'm like, that guy Jeremy's got this, man. I'm just along for the daggone ride. So I'm excited.
And I think this is my first time ever being a guest on a podcast.
Jared, welcome. Welcome to the club.
Thank you.
Heck yes.
That's true, because you were on Pastor with No Answers with me for years, but you were part of the podcast. You weren't a guest.
Exactly.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Well, this is your day, Jared. So
Yes.
Don't forget this moment. It might not come along very often.
Yeah, and for your listeners, the three of us have been texting a lot about some stuff that I know you're going to want to get into later, but this is the first time the three of us have all talked together. You and I have talked once on, digital platform, but this is awesome, man.
This is a meeting of the minds, if you will.
There you go.
Yes, absolutely. Let's talk about what's going on in both your lives currently. Jared, go ahead and tell me what's in your world right now.
Well, I actually am an empty nester. This is my first year. I have two daughters. They go to college. One's a senior studying film, and the other is a freshman studying hospitality. I've been teaching for 26 years. I'm teaching film right now, film and TV production for high school and middle school. I love my job. I love working with kids, and I love movies, and I love music.
That's amazing. I did not know that. This is like a whole new world to me. Like that's so cool to hear that. What are you at a high school or where are you at?
It's actually pre-K to 12th grade.
Okay.
So it's all three divisions. It's a private school, and so I teach grades 6 through 12.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Very cool. Joey, what is up with you, my friend?
Man, So I work at a church, and I used to be pastor of one of the locations, and now I focus on their podcast, but I'm still a pastor, and I still have people that see me as their pastor, and so I'm not trying to be dramatic, but my heart is really heavy right now. I just talked to a woman who we're dear friends with, and she also sees me as pastor, and she lost her son last Tuesday. So it's just there's nothing heavier than being with parents who lose a child. Seriously, it just affects you.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
But outside of that, life is good. My oldest is in cosmetology school and still living at the house. So I've got two girls. The oldest is cosmetology school. Second oldest is a junior in high school. Then I have two boys, 9th and 7th grade, big time into sports. I feel like it's kind of the golden age of parenting, or one of the golden ages. It was fun when they were all young and so dependent on you, but this is kind of neat because I feel really close to my kids. I feel like I've done a decent job as a dad, and the work part is kind of minimal. They take care of themselves, and they don't want to spend as much time with you. So it's just like it's a neat season. I'm glad that I have a life set up to where I'm around and hanging out with them and all that. So life's pretty good, man. That's pretty good.
Awesome. Do any of your just individually for your kids, are they into music too as well, or is that something that that interests them at all?
Yeah, I would say my boys are straight up hip hop, and I don't know. Can we say foul language on this podcast?
Absolutely.
We can.
Yes, we can.
Shitty hip hop, like all the new school stuff. Now, I will say there's some overlap. Like they respect and love Kanye, and
sure,
we both love the old Kendrick, but Kendrick's kind of lost me a little bit. I still haven't checked out the newest one. I think I'll probably like it, but they listen mostly to the modern rap that I just have lost interest in. But my two girls, there's a lot of overlap with the music we listen to, and it's neat, man. Like they see me. Like usually kids look at their parents and they're like, "Oh, dad doesn't know anything."
Dad sucks.
When it comes to music, there is high regard for my music taste, and they'll like, "Dad, I found this band. What do you think of them?" Or "What are you listening to, Dad? I got to check that out." So it's kind of neat that my musical taste, especially with my girls, are looked at in high regard. So yeah,
Jared,
I would say the same I would say the same thing. I mean, my oldest daughter is really, really into music. Like, not only is she into current stuff, but she's going way back into the 70s, the 60s, the 80s, and she's like a sponge. I mean, literally any genre she'll just take on, and she's constantly making playlists. What she'll do is she'll find like 70 songs to listen to for the month of April, and then she'll just go through all those genres, all those artists. Anytime she watches a movie or watches a TV show, any song she hears that she likes, she'll add it to a playlist. So she's big time into music, and also live music too. So she's a nerd like I am when it comes to music.
That's beautiful, because like if you think about it nowadays, a lot of kids are just so consumed with their phone. But the fact that you have to search for something, and like that's I think probably what all three of us that was part of our lives, like searching for that record or searching for that, whatever it may be. I think that's cool in a different aspect. It's at least in your hand, but there's still that, wanting to find something and wanting to connect to something. That's awesome. I love that. I love hearing that.
Jeremy, check this out. Jared just booked us for, is it called Best Friends Forever?
You did it
in Vegas.
The best. Yeah.
Yep.
God, you guys,
and then after he books it, he tells me that Jimmy Eat World is
they just got. I just saw
they
get added. And
oh my gosh, I've always wanted. Like I think I'm going to get back into live music probably through this festival. I just
have you not seen Jimmy Eat World?
Never. But I've been an old fuddy-duddy with live music just in general, but I have said many times that if Jimmy Eat World ever played Clarity, I would want to go see that. If Radiohead or Dinosaur Jr. came in my vicinity, I would make the trip. But there's been a lot of bands that I like that came to Charleston. I'm like, I'll watch them.
Bro, they will rip. I promise you. They will rip, and it will be so badass. I actually got to see the Clarity tour twice back in the infancy with At the Drive-In and No Knife, which is like, holy shit world.
I had only one No Knife album. Jared, were you ever into At the Drive-In?
A little bit. The Scissors
I'm
album.
Not familiar.
Yeah.
So that band blew up because of, I think it was Ross Robinson that did Korn and all that. He picked them up, and they were just that one of those bands that like blew up overnight. It was weird, and then they just disappeared. But it was just one of those bands that bizarre and awesome, incredible, and one of those things that I remember the singer was like throwing pizza. He was on a speaker just throwing pizza at people as he's singing. It's just like one of those like moments where you're like, what is going on? This band's incredible type of thing. So anyway, let's talk about, I actually want to hear both your stories. Bring me through your growing up and how you guys connected to music and just, bring me through that. And then I'll tell mine.
Yeah. I mean, why don't we focus on the music part? If that's, I mean, you ask us anything you want, but
music.
Jared, you interrupt me, Jared, and then I've got some questions for you. But I'd say probably around when I was in the 4th grade and Jared was in the 6th grade, around that time, my parents pulled the plug on our radio listening. Ooh. We were big into music, and we consumed pop music because that's what was on the radio. And that was the hair bands, Poison, Bon Jovi, and then Bangles. And then we were into rap, Beastie Boys, Run DMC. But my parents, our parents were very meticulous with knowing what we were listening to. And I think they heard the DJs making some perverted jokes one time. They're like, we can't let y'all listen to this. And I'll remember, I want to say before they pulled the plug on that, I had seen the LP of To Hell with the Devil at Family Christian Bookstore, and it caught my eye because I was like, wow, that's really crazy. That looks, almost satanic, and it's in the Christian bookstore. And so once they pulled the plug on radio, I was like, I gotta know, because we're desperate for music. And so to me, To Hell with the Devil is when I found a love for music. I mean, I just listened to it nonstop. Jared, would you say that's kind of your beginning too at Stryper? I mean, because it.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that in 4th grade, I really loved Weird Al Yankovic.
That's true.
He's amazing.
That was my first huge connection to music because I memorized his lyrics. I even wrote my own songs to play with his music.
You wrote some of your own stuff?
I did. Yeah, I did it. I did a satire. Yeah, the song.
Weird Jared.
It's on the Rocky IV soundtrack. I did a whole, like the one where Rocky's driving a Lamborghini and he's thinking I did a whole thing about that.
You kept that terrible from me, you bastard. I never knew that.
It wasn't good. So I think I shared with Mom and Dad, but it was not good.
Yeah.
But so Stryper was definitely like serious music. That's what got me into it too. I would agree with Joey on that for sure.
Yeah. And we almost immediately, and I would imagine we saw stuff at Family Christian Store. Jared, you could tell me if I'm wrong, but we almost immediately got into Barren Cross, Saints, Shout. Yes. I remember Bloodgood was a really big one.
Dude.
Yeah. And that was definitely one of the bigger bands for me. But Jared, when did you discover, and I want to say it was like a trifecta around the same time you discovered the Crucified, Deliverance, and Vengeance Rising? It was almost funny. Like they fell in your lap sort of thing.
What happened was there was a CCM, Contemporary Christian Magazine.
Yeah, love that.
They had a special article. This was like, I guess, August of 1989. So I was going to my freshman year in high school. and they had a special article on Christian thrash.
What?
And I was huge into Metallica. Like, unlike Joey, I was actually a little rebellious. I would actually listen to my friend's copy of Metallica, AC/DC, Black Sabbath, Twisted Sister, those kind of things. So when I saw Christian thrash, I was like, what? And they listed Believer, The Crucified, Deliverance, and Vengeance. So my mission was to track down all 4 of those and buy whatever the hell they had. And so that was like August, September of '89.
Was that hard?
And so I think no, because there was actually a distro, Mailbox Music.
Okay.
Oh, I remember that.
And I think they actually had an advertisement in that CCM magazine. So immediately we contacted them. I ordered the Human Sacrifice. I ordered the I guess it was the first Deliverance. I special ordered Crucified. It wasn't out yet, but wow. I asked that on my Christmas list. And then we also got, I think it was Angelica, maybe.
Dude,
same
heck yes.
Order. Yeah. So that was really
Mastodon was one of my first. It's a jungle out there.
I love that record.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And what is it? Love Cato or Love? The other record,
that was the second one.
Yeah,
I sold that on eBay for like $100.
Dude, those records are incredible.
Yeah,
incredible.
Yeah, for sure. And so I would say that while Jared and I both had that overlap of the metal, like not thrash, not the super heavy stuff, Barren Cross, Saint, and all that, I went to bands like Petra, Whiteheart, Christian rap that he didn't really pay much mind to, and I wanted to like the Deliverance and Vengeance and Crucified and stuff, but it was just a little too heavy for me. But I did want to ask both of y'all, I can't really speak on this, but I'm curious, were bands like Barren Cross, Saint, and those metal bands, were they good bands that if someone listened to like Judas Priest and AC/DC that they would respect bands like Barren Cross?
That's a great
or were
question.
They second rate? I just don't know. I really don't know.
I think that's all we knew. You know, like I'll be honest with you. Like I'm sure they were good. Like honestly, like I think they were like proficient at what they did. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about like Iron Maiden, and we're talking about like these bands that like changed people's lives, and then we have these artists that are a Christian knockoff, if you will. But yeah, I think there's some bands like Mastodon, for instance, like you just mentioned, is an unbelievable band that probably 30 people have heard of, maybe a little more. You know,
I think Sacred Warrior.
Warrior,
towards the end, they got to where
absolutely
they were at a level, not Iron Maiden, but
Shout,
they were approaching Iron
Shout
Maiden.
too. Like Shout was like, I feel like if Shout wasn't labeled as a Christian band, they probably would have been massive. Like honestly, like they had hooks.
That in your face.
I know, it's incredible, and it won't be long. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know.
Yeah, and I will say from that whole era, because I feel like we listened to the music that we were really into in high school, and for me it was, grunge and alternative and punk and all that. So this, these metal bands, but to this day, there's 2 bands that I can go back to and listen to and purely enjoy it, and that's Stryper and Bride. Like I think Bride, Snakes in the Playground,
great
and
record.
Kinetic Faith
Great record.
to me is still timeless, man.
Yep.
Just
Psychedelic
timeless.
Super Jesus, dude. Like, oh my God. I saw them live around that time, and I feel like PFR opened. It was weird. It was like a weird, and I know, I promise you. And I was like psyched out of my mind. And I was probably 15, 14, I don't know. And I was like, oh my God. And like Bride changed my life. Like Bride and like, Stryper, like you said, Petra, like was probably the first concert I ever saw. And I saw like Beyond Belief maybe, or right after Beyond Belief, like pyrotechnics, ramps, all that stuff. I was like, what is like, this is a game changer. Like,
They had, I don't remember what it was on. I don't know if it was on one of the Hot Metal Summers
I love those.
or what, but there was 2 videos, Everybody Knows My Name and Troubled Times, both off Kinetic Faith album. And that was life-changing.
Yeah.
Like seeing those songs played basically like live and just how they did the mix and the videography. I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome stuff.
Dude, Bride was
awesome
amazing. Stuff. And I love and then he wound up actually almost singing for Stryper, from what I heard. Like Dale,
really?
Yes, because when Michael Sweet left the band, he was gonna. I think he did a couple shows and then it didn't ever work out, which I thought was ironic. Because I feel like Brian was more bluesy, more, like rock and roll, and Stryper was more like the glam Stryper or glam rock and roll. But yeah, I mean, dude, I love that you guys love all that stuff because I geek out about that stuff. It's so
Our first concert was in Charleston, and it was White Cross. And to this day,
I never saw them.
To this day, I still think the sound was way louder than it should have been. I want to say because it was like my virgin experience of a concert that it was probably just I wasn't used to it. But as an adult, I think that space was very small, and that was way.
Bro, that's Rex
Jared,
Carroll. That's Rex Carroll.
Oh yeah,
dude.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was that same summer, but Soraya,
yes.
I think was our second band that we saw.
Yeah.
That's
Do you remember
amazing.
that?
I never got to see them. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I think it was like me, Joey, and like 5 other people, maybe.
Yeah.
Dude, that's amazing.
No one was there.
I bought that record.
Then Jeremy, our mom and dad surprised us, and dad said, "Hey, I'm taking y'all to Cornerstone." 91. So 1991.
Insane. Who was the headliner?
Mastodon, Whiteheart, but most importantly, Crucified, Believer.
Unbelievable.
Jared still gives me trash about watching One Bad Pig record Ice Cream Sunday while he was watching Crucified right next door.
That's incredible.
I missed my opportunity to watch Crucified.
That's incredible.
But Jared, I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
It seems like Cornerstone kicked off our alternative listening. Our Christian alternative, because I think you got The Stand, Heartbreak Town. Jeremy, do you remember The Stand?
I know The Stand, yeah.
And the first Violet Burning.
Ooh.
We got that before. No, I thought we got that after Cornerstone.
No, we saw them there, though. We saw the Violet Burning, and we picked up their CD. I think we picked up their CD there.
Okay, and that led to the Choir, Violet Burning, LSU, and all that stuff. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah. I would also say, too, I think for me, White Throne magazine.
Yeah.
That really opened my eyes to the underground, like the deep underground of an already underground scene. So, listening to bands like Empty Tomb, I actually ordered Empty Tomb from White Throne. Before Circle of Dust, Scott Albert was in a band called Immortal. I got the Immortal demo.
That's amazing.
Straight from him. So being plugged into the underground through White Throne opened my eyes significantly to what was out there,
That's amazing.
Alternative punk, whatever. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, so at Cornerstone, we saw Scattered Few, and
Alan.
that obviously changed our world.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I think the first concert we saw was Believer, and that was too heavy for me, so it didn't leave an impression. But when we saw Scattered Few, I was like, this seems bad. Like, I don't know if we should.
Very naughty.
This is so awesome. Oh,
Alan's very
gosh,
naughty.
so awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But I was thinking beyond that Cornerstone. I think Mind Size by Poraloo was
Great
a big album
record.
for me because that just seemed like, wow, this is not second rate at all. I can't speak on the just how good these albums were, but I loved I've always liked Mad at the World, and I loved Ferris Wheels. That was my favorite album for a long time.
Yeah.
Hot Pink Turtle, their Tiggle Wiggle Jiggle Pickle album, that used to be my favorite album for a long time.
I love that.
But when Tooth and Nail came out, I want to say that Jared and I bought every release probably until about 97 or 98.
Yeah,
it was
same
just
here.
If Tooth and Nail puts it out, we buy it.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You were like that too?
Absolutely. Hey guys, I literally have to pee so bad. Sorry.
Oh, go pee.
I'm like, sorry. Give me like 2 minutes,
good.
and we'll talk Tooth and Nail. I promise you.
Go
I
do
swear.
your thing.
I think I do want to backtrack a little because I do want to mention Justin Porter, not by name, but just how he turned me on to Nine Inch Nails, Ministry, Smashing Pumpkins, all of these things in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And that's also kind of a way I got plugged into the alternative side of things.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'll never forget seeing Justin in the hall, and he was, he was typically wearing his headphones, and I was like, he was always very kind to me, and I was like, "What are you listening to?" And he kind of
Sorry, guys.
raised his eyebrows, because he was like, "Oh, you're gonna really like this." He said, "I'm listening to Mortal."
Ooh.
Because he had borrowed it from you, sort of thing. Yeah, Jared wants to backtrack a little bit for good reason. There was a friend of his in high school that wasn't he listening to like Smashing Pumpkins and Nirvana before they hit
so
big?
This dude has really expanded me in terms of non-Christian alternative music, because he was like 2 years older than I was. I looked up to him. He's from California. So he got me listening to Fugazi, Ministry, Nine Inch Nails, Smashing Pumpkins, Soundgarden, Nirvana, all before they broke.
That's amazing.
And so he was kind of like, my lifeline to the outside the Christian bubble.
He was your bad influence.
He was my bad influence, exactly, yes. But what's funny though, is I had turned him on to Mortal and Scattered Few.
Oh, wow.
So I gave him those cassettes. And so a guy so heavily plugged into that kind of music, he would not give me those tapes back. He absolutely loved them.
Yeah.
He was always listening to them. So
that would have been Lucis and Sin Disease, right?
Correct, yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and those records, if they were on a secular label, we're not talking about this. You know what I mean? Like, they're just one of those bands that, like, made the dent, And then they made a dent, but, like, in our little world. Like, Gyro, just like, for instance, having him on the podcast recently is, like, mind-boggling. This guy's so prolific, so incredibly gifted. I mean, he like could have been a doctor and he decides to write music. It's like, and it's that music that like is like ride or die. Like, it's like, there's records, Lucis, like you mentioned, or Fathom or Wake, or, some of the Folds and Her records. You're like, those are records that changed a lot of people's lives. And you know what? They never sold 1 million records, but they changed 1 million people, probably, at least,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember Sin was my favorite album for a very long time, and I think it would probably make my top 50 list.
Good.
I mean, Poor Lou, Sin is just phenomenal.
So good.
But so Jared and I, Jeremy, we had to travel to Myrtle Beach for a good little spell if we wanted to see live shows. There were some coming to Charleston, but I think we saw Mortal in Myrtle Beach, 6 Feet Deep. I think we saw Plank. I think I saw Plank Eye in Charleston, but I think we traveled to Myrtle Beach for Plank Eye. Prayer Chain, I think, was in Charleston.
That's awesome.
But what are some of the other shows you remember?
Well, remember the infamous MXPX Blenderhead we didn't see.
I saw that tour. I saw that tour.
Oh, did you? Really?
Yes.
Yeah, Teenage Politics tour.
Yeah, I saw that in Ohio.
All right. I think I saw the Throws at Myrtle Beach.
That's right.
I think Black Eyed Skiva we saw in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, Black Eyed Skiva opened up for, I think, Poor Lou or something like that.
Yep.
Dude, so I was in a band with the lead singer and songwriter for Emery, and we felt like it was a band called Joe 747. We were like, oh man, we made it. We're going to open up for Puller in Charleston.
Ooh.
And if you haven't seen Puller, this will be shocking. If you have, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Their live show was unbelievable.
Yeah, amazing.
Like, you wouldn't listen to those Puller albums and think the intensity that you see live, but I remember they were so intense and so in sync. It was like, oh my gosh,
amazing.
Their live show is incredible.
Yeah,
incredible.
Absolutely. Yeah, Mike was. I mean, he was on a major label. He was on the Crow soundtrack. Like, that guy, knew what he was doing. Absolutely. Yeah. And they were. They should have been bigger than they were. I think they were.
Yeah, for Love Not Lisa, I think was his other band that before
they
Puller.
Should have done. They were 10 years ahead of everything else. I think that whole like math rock world, they were just so ahead of it, and I don't think people got it. Like,
Yeah. So for me, through about 97 or 98, I think I felt bad if I listened to secular music, so I was sticking with the Christian stuff.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I can kind of trace where I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I'm just missing out. I remember picking up Diary, but that was still okay because this Jeremy Ennett guy, supposedly he's a Christian. But that's an album that I think classifies as emo, and I was listening to it before I heard the word emo. But Jared sends me for my birthday Static Prevails by Jimmy Eat World, and then that same summer I picked up a Deep Elm sampler and heard Marigold by Appleseed Cast for the first time, and I was like, I don't know what I'm listening to, but my life has changed, and this is all I want to listen to.
Absolutely.
And some other bands, Bloodshed, I think probably classifies as emo. Roadside Monument, we had just never heard the name emo, but I guess when Deep Elm sent that, I guess they kind of owned the
emo
terminology emo. But I was living close to Charlotte at the time, so we would see Hopes Fall. We saw them as they were getting big, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is insane. White Octave. We saw Branson and Appleseed Cast tons of times, and then we saw the Solid State Fest music festival in Charlotte. And I'd say that's when I started getting into really heavy stuff, was that hardcore era, at Tooth and Nail.
That's awesome.
Jared went through a big time ska phase.
Oh yeah.
And then didn't you go through like a whole year and a half of like electric music, like VNV Nation?
Yeah. So Rancid really got me. Well, I guess it was '95. They had a couple singles that I just absolutely loved. So I went on a ska deep dive, Operation Ivy, Rancid. Then I got some samplers and stuff like that. And then in the early 2000s, I started getting into like European like goth industrial. So like Funker Vote, VNV Nation, Wumpscut, those bands like that. So they're like really hard edge, industrial, dancey type stuff. I still like that today. I mean, VNV Nation, I've seen them live a couple of times. They're still one of my favorite bands.
That's amazing.
So yeah.
That's awesome.
I've always had a kind of a love for industrial music anyway. The first time I heard Ministry, I could not believe you could do this with electronic music. That actually was life-changing for me, hearing electronic music so bastardized to where it was so freaking heavy.
Yeah.
And so I fell in love with industrial. So I've always been an industrial fan ever since, for sure.
Dude, I'm going to be a nerd and say I like Stabbing Westward. I freaking love that band. I know they're like more of the poppy industrial, but like, when that whole world was happening, I liked, a lot of their stuff. I never got into Nine Inch Nails, but I get it. I understand it.
Yeah.
I love Circle of Dust, of course. I love Mortal, of course. Dedophobia and all that stuff. Like I liked all that stuff, but I definitely felt probably torn, like you guys mentioned, about like, oh, should I listen to Nine Inch Nails? I mean, those are the nails they put in Jesus's hand. I don't know that. Like that was the rumor. It's like, oh, it's Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah.
So it's like I get it, and I appreciate it. I think now more than ever. But I did get to see Stabbing Westward one time, which was amazing. It blew my mind. It was with Tripping Daisy. I don't know if you know that band.
I've heard of them, but I haven't heard them. Yeah.
I think that the singer wound up being in Polyphonic Spree. I don't know if you've heard them. They were like a choir or whatever. Yeah. But that show was actually mind-boggling to me. And it was weird because I felt like I was in a Christian world and that was a secular concert. And I was like, kind of like torn, like you kind of mentioned. I was like kind of torn. But I went and it was like amazing. And like, I was like, and it was weird because like the Trippin' Daisy was like, and we're in Clay County, Florida, which is a very conservative, like, type of world. And Trippin' Daisy is like all about weed and drugs. And they're like, hey, who's got weed here? And then like hundreds of bags of weed fly on that stage. And I'm just like, this pastor's kid, like, what's going on here? Am I seeing this? Like, but it was awesome. It was amazing. It actually was cool, in that aspect. And the fact that I was so, I would go to shows and like Christian artists would come out and smoke or like say a cuss word. And I'd be like, oh my God, like what's wrong with you? Like,
earth shattering, man.
It did change my world. It was like, wait, who are you? Like, so that happened many times, Jason Martin from Starflyer smoking a cigarette after a show. I'm like, what? Like, who are you? Like now at 47, I'm like, hell yes, Jason. Like, I totally understand. I wish I was in the know then, but
yeah. You would, I'll never forget visiting my brother in college, and one of the CDs he had in his ska phase was Voodoo Glow Skulls. And on the actual CD, it says like, play it loud, effer, but it says the word fucker. And I remember thinking, that's it. My brother's
He's
never
done. He's
going
gone
to see the Lord. He's
definitely not
out of the cards.
He's still not.
Like if he would keep that in his room, he's gone.
Jared, we brought you here to have an intervention, bro.
Yeah, it's an intervention here. Yeah.
But
you haven't even mentioned my black metal phase yet, so.
Bro, I've been there. I've been there.
Oh, Jared is there still.
Are you really? Tell me who.
Well, I mean, like Leviathan. I'm wearing the sweatshirt now. Boston Edge, another San Francisco band. Obviously, Death Heaven's like my favorite band.
Oh, great band.
They're not really pure death
No,
metal.
I get it. I
black
get
metal, but even I did go through like a lot of the Norwegian stuff, like
Yeah.
Mayhem,
Yeah.
Dark Throne, Burzum,
Yeah.
Immortal. I mean, I don't listen to that stuff much anymore, but I definitely appreciate what they were doing. I think it was so groundbreaking.
Absolutely.
And I love the vibe. I love the sound. They are, the blasphemous bands I definitely now kind of stay away from just
Sure.
because why, but I definitely like what they were trying to accomplish musically, at least.
Absolutely.
Really cool.
I've watched so many documentaries on that stuff. It's so intriguing to me, just watching, and of course the Christian black metal, the unblack metal, whatever you call it. I love those bands too. Ancestor, Crimson Moonlight, all those bands.
How about Horde? Do you ever hear
Horde's amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
They are really good.
Yeah. I mean, they're all incredibly gifted, bands and records. And it's like, of course, they're never going to get that respect that the black metal world would even offer.
Right.
But I think musically, like, absolutely. Like, and I got obsessed with black metal. I saw Dimmu Borgir, which is incredible.
Oh, wow.
Dude, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable live.
Yeah.
And I love Immortal, and I love Emperor, and all that stuff. Like that. I got super into them, but it's weird because I'm like a Christian, so it's like, I just kind of, take it as I can.
Sure.
I totally forgot another entryway of emo. And Jeremy, I want to say when you and I were talking first, I told you this, but Jared, do you remember? I went to a Dear Ephesus show, and so obviously they kind of have that emo vibe. And between songs, he asked the crowd, it was like 50 kids. I was one of them. Like, have you guys like emo music? And I probably wasn't that familiar with that terminology at the time. And then he said, have y'all heard of this band Mineral? And there were some people that were just like, yeah. And then I never heard of that. And I remember next time we talked on the phone, I just told you about this band Mineral, and you actually took the initiative to buy Power of Failing, and that was the end of you.
Bro, game changer.
Favorite band.
Game changer.
Yeah, I freaking love that band.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I remember actually
lyrics, music.
No, go ahead, Jared.
I was going to say the lyrics. I think he's my favorite lyricist.
Unbelievable.
The music is so freaking powerful. And then actually seeing them live for the first time in 2014.
Dude.
That was it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Chris Simpson is a god, like for real. Like he is unbelievably talented, unbelievably humble, incredibly beautiful human being. Like, dude, I remember vividly, I was living in Denver, I think at the time, and I knew of Sunny Day Real Estate. I knew of Mineral. I knew of Get Up Kids. I knew all these bands, and I went to a record store and I found Power of Failing. So I bought it. I remember vividly buying it. Yeah, that record changed my life. I brought it back to Florida, and I told all my friends, I was like, dude, this is it. This is it. And I remember everyone just being like floored. And it's weird because I never got to see them in that time. Then I get to see them. I saw them in 2014 as well. And
Were you at the fest?
Yes. Were you there?
I was too.
Dude, yeah. So you're going to be bummed. I told Joey this the other day. So Chris had, of course, Zookeeper, and he played with my friends, and I went to Tampa area with them to hang out or whatever, and he was there, and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. Like, I'm not worthy, like that type of thing. And he's like, oh, very cool, whatever. And I was like, I might see you guys in Gainesville soon. And he's like, I'll put you on the list. And I'm like, okay.
Whoa.
So I went to the fest, nice. Absolutely. Yeah. And so then I met up with him and the rest of the guys, and it was just like, this is incredible. And then I saw him in Orlando, I think maybe 5 years later, or 2019 or whatever. And
I saw him in Miami for that same tour. Yeah.
And it was like, God, these guys should have been massive. Like, but if you know, it's that,
It's so crazy to like the youngsters these days, and I sound so old, and I mean I would even say maybe a lot of millennials, you just don't understand. Like, I remember I listened to Hard to Find a Friend probably a year and a half after it released because I kept waiting in the mail for it. And you email Made in Mexico, the guys from there, and email was a new thing. And it's like, I think they got the email. I think I wrote snail mail, and I was like, listen, I sent a check for $15.
Where's my record?
For Hard to Find a Friend. And it finally came in the mail. I mean, it's like, that's how things were. You could send a check and hope that you get your CD.
Yeah, and now you could just look it up on your phone. Like, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
No,
Right.
I know.
So that was a huge album for me. And then This Afternoon's Malady by Jejune.
Oh, dude,
still holds
even
a
the
super
EP is
special
incredible
place in my
too.
heart.
Absolutely.
Is that, or do you refer to? Are you talking about Rest in Peace,
Yeah.
the one after it?
Oh
or
no,
Junk?
the blue. The blue record.
Junk.
Junk.
Junk,
That's it.
Yeah. I think Rest in Peace. It seems like Jejune and Mineral have some similarities in how they. It just seems like, man, you could have made so many more.
You know, the
albums.
final
Like,
tour was Jejune and Mineral and Get Up Kids.
Oh my!
I know. Sorry to cut you off, but literally was the final tour of Mineral at the time.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, dude, Jejune's incredible band, and I won't brag about seeing them, but
yeah, you can go to hell and shut up and eat shit and die.
My bad. No, dude, I lived in Denver for like a hot minute, and I got to see everyone in like this.
Did you ever see?
Go ahead.
Did you ever see Christie Front Drive? Because I think they were from Colorado.
So I didn't, but I saw their other band, which
Antarctica.
No. I didn't see Antarctica. There was another one. It was called I'm blanking out. No, I did not see Antarctica, but the drummer was in another band, and I have a 7-inch of it, and I'm blanking out right now. But no, I did not. But I did see there. One of the guys played at or worked at a record store in Denver, so I actually went in. That's where I bought the Mineral record, and he was the one that sold it to me, and I was like, oh. And then I bought Christie Front Drive, of course, the Wheat record, and then the Blue and White. I can't think what they're called, self-titled or whatever. Amazing band, unbelievably underrated. Like, and I actually got that on vinyl. I feel like 2 or 3 years ago when they repressed it. Amazing, should have been massive, absolutely massive. What's some of the other emo bands you liked?
Oh gosh, I mean, Branson, Texas is the reason. Appleseed,
Best Friends,
Rainer Maria.
Yeah, Rainer Maria.
You know who opened?
Big one for
I
me.
saw Rainer Maria, and you know who opened for him? Rilo Kiley.
Oh wow!
Oh really?
What's your headlining? One of the headliners from Best Friends Fest.
BFF, yeah.
Braid was a big one for
Braid.
me for sure. Knapsack, Jared was huge into, and I like too, but probably not as much as Jared. But yeah, I mean, Get Up
Texas
Kids,
is the reason.
Dude,
yeah, Texas is the reason.
Amazing.
Cross My Heart. Do you remember them from Deep Elm Records? Yeah,
absolutely. Dude, Branson, like you
man.
said, and absolutely love all those bands. Like, it's funny because all those bands I was really into the heavy music, like Strong Arm and all that stuff. But then when that emo world came around, I was like, I flipped a switch because I love melody. I love, rock and roll, or if you will. I love hardcore, and that gets me in the mood. But like, there's something about that, a well-written song, sung not your normal way. American Football, like, just those bands that just kind of like you connect to. And yeah, absolutely. I love all those bands that you mentioned. And of course, when Further came out, Further Seems Forever, I'm like, oh my God, this is like going to be massive. Yeah. Which I guess in theory it was, but it really wasn't if you think about it. Like,
I mean, by the time The Moon Is Down came out, Chris Carrabba was no longer
I know.
the band, I don't think, right? Isn't that crazy?
And that record was amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely,
yes.
Yep. Absolutely.
I think one thing too that. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I think one thing too that Tooth and Nail did a great job with is '90s hardcore. Like you mentioned, Strong Arm, Zao, Focused. Because I listened to bands like Strife, Snapcase, Earth Crisis, and to me, they're the same. They're the same level playing field.
Absolutely.
When you have like Strong Arm's second album right there. I think Focus second album right there. So they had really good quality hardcore, I think.
Absolutely.
Great for Christian kids like us. Yeah.
Well, and the problem too, is I guess it was the faith aspect of it, and it's funny because I think back in the day it was very rare to have a Christian hardcore band not get ridiculed or not get, pennies thrown at them, whatever it is. And it's funny because hardcore is all about accepting whatever you want to accept, which is ironic.
Right.
But Strong Arm, Advent of a Miracle is my favorite hardcore band or favorite record of all time. Like in terms of
really
100%. That is a flawless record in my opinion. Like
that's their second full length.
Yeah.
Right?
And the first one's right there. Don't get me wrong. Their first one is right there. But that second record like is unbelievable. Like there's nothing wrong with it.
And for the most part, Further Seems Forever's music was played by the guys in Strong Arm.
It's basically Strong Arm with Chris Carrabba or Jason Gleason or John Bunch. You know, it literally is. Yeah. That's why I gravitated to it, because I was like, this is going to be incredible. Like, these guys are like, you think about it, if Strong Arm's on Victory Records or whatever, we're not talking about this. Like, they're leaps and bounds better than most of those bands.
Yeah. Check this out, Jeremy, a memory. And I want to say, Jared, you must have been there because it was in Florida, but we were watching Further Seems Forever live, and it's post Chris Carrabba, and it was actually one of their lead singers who never recorded with them, but he had like long red hair, and he would point the microphone into the crowd, you know, for somebody to grab the microphone and sing into it. He points the microphone to somebody. We're in the back, so we can't see anybody's faces, and all of a sudden this guy is just owning it. Oh my gosh, we're like, wow, that is a singer right there. It was Chris Carrabba in the front row.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember
That's incredible.
Yeah, he was passing out flyers to Dashboard Confessional. This is probably like 1999,
Gosh. Unbelievable.
But fun fact, though, I actually saw Further Seems Forever with all three vocalists. So, which I think is pretty cool.
I saw him with two.
So I saw him with Chris Carrabba when they opened up for Get Up Kids back in 99. And then I saw them with, it was Jason, whatever his last name
Gleason.
is. I think in 2002 or 2001, and then I did see him at FAU with John Bunch.
Man, I would have loved to see John Bunch.
Yeah.
It
was great,
dude. I love Sensefield.
And he passed away.
That's another band, Sensefield. Yeah, he passed away. Yeah, Sensefield's another emo band that I loved, absolutely loved. Building that record building is amazing, incredible.
Yeah, and I'm curious, did those guys own that terminology, emo? Like, I would doubt that Chris Simpson said, yeah, we're an emo band. I think that was maybe a fan terminology.
Yeah, or a media
term. That would
be
my guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just kind of a, whatever you want to call it, a way to describe it. But I also feel like at the same time, you know, when Mineral and Get Up Kids and all those bands, they knew they were emo. They knew they were that genre or that world. And that's probably what appealed to a lot of people. Because it was, you know, hardcore and emo were kind of interlinked. You know, usually if you like Coalesce, you like the Get Up Kids, or if you liked, you know, Disembodied, you liked J. June. You know, it was kind of like incestuous, if you will. So, like, for me, that's kind of what opened I love the hardcore, but I freaking love Mineral. I love Texas is the Reason. You know, I love that.
And it makes sense too, because you see kind of like the evolution. You have Minor Threat who goes into Fugazi.
Yeah,
and Fugazi is kind of a prototypical emo band. Even Embrace and Rites of Spring.
Yep,
they came out of the hardcore DC hardcore scene, so it kind of makes sense.
Absolutely, and I even think with Sunny Day Real Estate, they were in a hardcore band previous to that too. I feel like Dan and Jeremy were in a heavier band, if you will. Yeah, I think it all kind of just, you know, I think you get that aggro
6 Feet Deep in Branson.
Exactly. You get that aggro world, and then you're like, I'm not mad anymore. You know, like, or
my girlfriend broke up with me. I want to sing about that.
Absolutely. Like, totally. Which, you know, Mike Porter, by the way, from Branson is incredible, amazing human being. And Matt Traxler, too, for that matter, from Steadfast. Those guys are incredibly gifted, awesome dudes, and they're still doing stuff, you know, like, it's incredible to see all these artists and even like Chris Simpson, for instance, he's got Mountain Time, that new record. It's amazing. His new record just came out this year. It's incredible.
Oh,
yes, it's so good.
What kind of music is it?
It's very.
Did you hear the first one that came out? Mountain
Time?
Yeah,
absolutely. It's great. Yeah. And the new,
I liked it.
Yeah. The new one's like more like, it's just a little more grandiose, if you will. And my friend Jared did some of the videos for it, which is really cool. He went to Iceland with Chris, and they recorded a couple. But dude, it's so good, and I feel like it's one of those, if you know records. But it probably is, you know, obviously isn't gonna sell a ton, but like, it's so good, it's amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Am I accurate to say that Embroco, Pop Unknown, and Gloria Record are all from Emery?
Absolutely.
Mineral people?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Pop Unknown was, I think, the drummer, which is Tess Wiley from Sixpence's brother.
Yeah, Gabe.
Yep.
Yeah, and then Gloria Record, which I think is Jeremy and Chris. Which I, you know, on that episode when I had him on, we go through all that, which is so intriguing to me. Like, you know, like, talk to me about these records that changed my life. Like,
yeah,
you know, It's so cool. So awesome.
Yep.
Dude, well, let's talk about the future in about 2 minutes when I have to pee again. Sorry, I'm 47 and I had a freaking pitcher of beer.
Go pee. Jared, what was your favorite Gloria record release? Probably the second EP?
Yeah, because it has like one of my all-time favorite songs, Arctic Cat or whatever.
Yeah.
That's like my number 5 favorite song of all time.
Yeah.
I like them both, though. I like them both.
Did you like the full length?
Not really.
Really? Yeah, I love the full length.
But I love the first EP. I thought was really good too. It was almost like a Mineral part 3 or whatever.
Yeah. And then, man, Zookeeper. It's crazy. Maybe 2 of my favorite EPs are at the hands of Chris Simpson, and that's the first Zookeeper, and then that Gloria record, the second one.
I think I might give that the edge over Seville, like because the text you sent.
Oh,
like I think
Seville.
Yeah,
like,
I think so.
Dude, I know Dan from Seville.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You would give the Gloria record EP over Seville?
Probably.
No, the Zookeeper.
Oh, the Zookeeper you would put over.
Yeah,
really?
So, yeah.
Wait,
really?
Okay. Seville, I mean, it's what?
Which Zookeeper?
Go ahead.
The first EP.
EPs. Yeah, the first EP.
Okay.
I live in the mess you are, and Tax Collector.
Have you heard his full length? The Zookeeper full length?
Yeah.
Oh,
I like
my
that
God, dude. I love that record.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I do too.
Dude, Chris is a god. Anyway, okay, sorry. We were talking about the future. I apologize.
Hey, wait. Before we do that, let's establish the emo trinity. You would have to say Chris Simpson, or I tell you what, let's expand it to Mount Rushmore of emo.
Okay.
So Chris Simpson and Jeremy Enick, I think you just have to put them there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the other 2 are the debate here. I mean, I guess I think bands. I mean, for me, the guy from Jejune, I think his name's Joe. That would be me, but that's personal preference.
Let me think.
Who comes to mind for y'all?
I would say, man, this is really tough. Maybe Blake from Knapsack. I don't know. I think he's, Jealous Sound, Knapsack. I don't know. He's brilliant.
Yeah.
Texas the Reason only did 1 record, so I mean that's kind of hard. But he has a memorable voice, Garrett. Man, that's
something fun to think about. But we're all settled on Jeremy Enick and Chris Simpson.
I could see Matt Pryor from the Get Up Kids being up there. I feel like he's pretty, and this is a different world, but even Chris Carrabba for that matter, because of what he wound up doing. But with the Further record, I don't know. There's so many like different angles. Enoch for sure, Simpson for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah, both are gods for sure. What
about who's the front man from Jawbreaker and Justice Brazil?
Oh, Blake. Yeah.
Blake. Yeah,
Jets
I
Brazil.
might consider putting him there. Yeah,
dude, I saw
Jawbreaker's emo-esque too. So
I saw Jets to Brazil with Pedro the Lion.
Oh,
I think I did too,
dude.
I did too.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Blake,
I saw Promise Ring live.
Me too.
And it was around Very Emergency, so that was pretty darn cool.
Right after Nothing Feels Good came out, and then I think the Wood and Water EP.
Yeah,
something like that. Amazing.
That was probably the first album where old Joey would have written it off as, Promise Ring sold out. I think that was the first album where I was like, I'm sick of this sold out stuff. This is just too good to ignore.
Dude, Very Emergency is amazing.
This is such a good,
those.
But I think I was hard on Get Up Kids when they put out Guilt Show. No, what was the one that came before Guilt Show? It was after Something to Write Home About. I was
on
like,
a Wire.
On a Wire.
Yeah.
That's a good record.
I love those albums.
It's a great record. Yeah, absolutely.
Back in the day, I was judgmental and stupid.
Of course.
I mean, I'm not even an artist, and I'm critical of.
I love looking back on records like that where you're like, damn, I was but a fool. Like, you know, I mean, I can't rate that stuff, but On a Wire is a great record. Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, let's talk about the future, guys. What does the future look like for us?
Yeah. So I have been toying around with a record or a music club for these sorts of conversations, but a very intentional approach, including live music and just loads of ideas for years. And when Jared and I, in the past few months have been thinking about pulling the trigger and got the website set up and everything, we reached out to you and told you the idea. And, we knew that you had a lot of connections and the same passion that we had as well. But honestly, I think the best way of putting it is it's like a social media platform that has these sorts of conversations that we just had for the last hour. Question of the week, question of the day, listening projects. Like, I want to, like this, the first month when we launch, we're literally going to have the list of the first 100 Tooth and Nail albums, and everybody gets to have 10 votes. Get your 10 votes in. That's all you can. And when, as a community, we're going to figure out what our favorite top 10 albums of Tooth and Nail. And there's going to be different music worlds for different genres. We're going to launch with this, I guess we call it Christian alternative, but in September, we're opening the Garage, which will be, all of it will be under Roster Music Club. And the Garage will focus on that emo late 90s scene. But, I've already got some artists who have, I sent them $25 and their friends. And I said, hey, put a playlist together of your, top 10 rap songs or, so curated playlists. And I really do feel too that there's a lot of people that are newly getting into, so, take Jared's daughter, for instance, who, is super interested in the past 40 years of music. And it's like the three of us, it's been a hobby,
sure,
but we've invested tons and tons of time into thousands of albums and bands. And I think you could see it as almost like a resource too, but just the sky's the limit. I want to, for instance, have everybody watch Soaked in Bleach, for instance, the documentary on the conspiracy behind Kurt Cobain's death, and talk about that in the community. I thought about, there's so many, I know this sounds maybe silly, but for me, I'm just hyped. Like games such as tell the whole club, all right, here's an album. This is your assignment. This time, 24 hours from now, we're all going to come back onto our social platform and we're going to say our favorite song on this album. So, for instance, I don't know what my favorite song is on Clarity by Jimmy Eat World, but I'd love you give me 24 hours and I will listen to that album a few times and decide on what my favorite song is. And have a whole month dedicated to Radiohead, for instance, and figure out what our top 3 Radiohead albums are. So, there's sorts of conversations that people love to have. We're just flipping it around and doing a really intentional approach that includes live music. We're kicking this thing off with, you tell them the 3 musicians, Jeremy.
Derry Doherty from the choir, Kevin Robinson from Viva Voce, Big Giant, a couple other bands, and then Ted, what is it? Ted Bond, that's right, from Craig's brother.
Craig's freaking brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. I love the eclecticness of this. It's kind of all over the place, which is cool.
And word on the street, so that will be free for everybody. We really want to push this club, and but word on the street is the next private lineup of an online concert, and the focus is the intimacy with the artist. Obviously, if they're sitting down in front of their computer playing a guitar, it's not for the sound quality, it's for the actual interaction and hearing them play some of our favorite songs that we listened to 30 years ago and being able to ask questions. But Gyro from Mortal
Gyro's
will probably be headlining the first private show.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had discussions. Jared, tell me what your viewpoint from this.
I think it's super exciting. I love having these kinds of conversations. I love meeting like-minded music buffs like myself. I love the thought of actually having debates, having March Madness style tournaments with songs and albums and artists. I like the idea of having exclusive podcasts. So if you're a paid member, you get access to really cool interviews with artists. Perhaps we'll have panels where we do Q&A with, for example, hardcore artists, those kinds of things, really allowing the community to kind of connect with their favorite artists in real time.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of like, an analogy that I have. When Jared and I were into the Christian scene and that was all that we can listen to, we would literally on the summer, our mom would take us to this friend of ours. He was an older, he was probably in his 20s, and he was a part of our church. He was a trusted guy. He was a good guy. And we'd literally go over to his house for 3 hours listening to bands. We would let him hear some of our new bands. He would let us hear some bands that we've never heard of. I think about the times when Jared and I, all we did was buy CDs because you didn't have the digital stuff. And when he went off to college, he would take half of our CD collection, so I would miss out on those. But we usually would never buy 2 copies of the same album. And so when we'd get together for Christmas, one of the most exciting parts was having that, not only getting a bunch of new CDs, but also having that CD exchange.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I feel like this club is going back to those days where we slow down and really talk and think and let it sink in, because we're all older now and we're in fast-paced life and raising kids and stuff. We're pretty much, for the most part, Jeremy, you have a whole podcast that talks to artists and hell of a job doing it.
Thank you.
But for the most part, we're just listening to music in our car.
Yeah.
And I want to share these conversations with other people and have a whole club just to do it.
Absolutely.
So we're excited, man. We are excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. The fact that you guys, reached out to me, I think, in a weird way was kind of an answer to prayer in terms of, I know I've been able to accomplish a lot of things with the podcast. I'm really grateful for it, and it's awesome. But I want everyone to I love the community of it all. Like we kind of mentioned the old school Tooth and Nail group or the 90s recovery group, whatever those people, like they can relate to us. They understand where we're coming from, they understand what we're doing. And I think it's cool that I just want to have a safe place where it's like, hey, I love this record. This song sucks, but it's a respectful conversation or it's a respectful situation. And it's cool that, there's so many varieties of music, like you mentioned, kind of the 90s emo or even black metal. That could be a world as well. Like, I think it's cool to be able to get into those worlds and talk about it because, I think we all have kind of a variety of music that we like. And it's cool that everyone's got that different viewpoint or perspective. And, I love it. I think it's a cool concept. I'm glad you guys came up with it.
Yeah. And it's something that everybody can connect to. And, I mean it when I say we're not going to have talks on politics and
politics,
things that piss you off about religion and all that kind of stuff. It is a club to talk about
tunes,
music because that's where we can all connect on and, kind of tuning out all the polarity of this world and, connecting our hearts with other people with music. Man, how beautiful is that?
Just like when we were 18, 19, and 20, we didn't talk politics. We didn't
care about all that stuff.
It was music, going to shows.
Well, and I think that's what actually connects the world musically is, it is music, really, if you think about it, it's like that transcendent thing that people can, I hate I don't like you, but I like this one song. Like we're at a concert together. We look at each other randomly and we're like, yes, this is that moment, it's beautiful. I think that's what, the beauty of music is in general. So it's like, yeah, absolutely, man. I love the conversation. I'm 47 now, so I don't want to fight with people about what I think is cool and what's not. But I also love to hear an opinion as to why. I think that's a cool perspective. It might not change my perspective, but I think it's cool to see why they connect with this song or why they connect with this record and why they don't connect with this record because that I connect with. I think that's intriguing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's exciting, man. Well, let's talk about the website and let's talk about, we talked about the concert, of course, that's coming up, but let's talk about the website.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, we're having fun, the three of us kind of putting things together as we go along. Like, where we stand now, we kind of see Rumors Are True podcast as like the public manifestation of this club, the public conversations. And, we talked recently about having a couple of roster club episodes on your feed to kind of talk about the conversations and things that are going on in the club and the debates and competitions and all of that stuff. So The website, if you went to rostermusic.club, my brother put together a little video that gives a snapshot, an additional snapshot than what you're hearing right now on what the club is about. We've got a concert flyer on the May 1st, 8:00. We've got a whole list of things that will be going on in the month of May, soon to be adding June and July. We've got a live podcast recording scheduled with Greg Dimmick to talk the old school
from
Christian
from
punk,
Crux
Empty Tomb,
yeah.
and then his new band Teeth for Eyes.
Yep.
So that, for example, that live recording is just going to be for club members, outside of occasional public concerts that we do, like the May 1st. All of this stuff is going to be private for the club members. So yeah, you can go to that website and read about all the perks, and it's rostermusic.club.
Yeah. Jared, how are you feeling about it?
I'm super excited. I mean, we've been thinking about this for, I don't know, 3-4 years, Joey, and the fact that it now is
and you just brought me in.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, I love the acceleration. Finally, things are coming to fruition, and I think really originally is Joey's idea. So actually seeing it come to birth is really exciting for all of us, and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, especially once we have that first May 1st kickoff. That I'm super excited about that. I've always been a choir fan. I love Craig's brother. So, things like that. I think one thing that Joey had mentioned too, that it's an idea that I absolutely love, is possibly having like an artist of the month, or maybe even have like a kind of a hall of fame of our favorite artists that we vote on as a community and stuff like that. So these kinds of ideas, they're always happening, that we're always coming up with new ideas. So as this club takes shape, we'll probably also want, user input, user feedback. What are you liking about the club? What do you want to see us do? It's going to be a natural, organic evolution, I think, as time progresses, which is exciting.
We are going to start I don't know what the phrase is, Christian alternative, but we're going to start our own Hall of Fame. I don't think there's any Hall of Fame for this, and we can do it because we want to.
Yeah.
And it's going to be
exactly.
awesome.
Who's
right.
Dude, that's amazing, because there's so many amazing artists that could be number one, which is mind-boggling to even think about. It's like, who's number one? That's such a cool concept to even think about, because there's so many varieties of music, and there's so many different ways that people have been affected by music. So and some people like to start stuff and then not really talk money, but I'll just flat out say, we're launching this with a $10 a month membership, and this will not only pay the bills as far as all the platforms we're using, but also it will help us have more live shows. And we're hoping maybe put some money in our pockets. But I think the litmus test for the three of us is, as fans of this market, the three of us all said, I'd pay $10 a month in a heartbeat if we didn't start this, and we heard about it from somebody else and they said, hey, this is what the club offers. I'd be like, sign me up, man. You sure it's not 25? Because I'll pay that. Absolutely. And some of the artists that we've talked to about doing live shows is mind blowing to me. Like, it's artists that you haven't heard in 25 years. It's artists that you haven't, heard in 10 years. So it's cool that, with the podcast, we've been, at least for myself, been able to contact a lot of these people that we all grew up listening to, and now are willing to, hey, I'll play a couple songs. I'll hang out for, however long. And it's cool because like, I'm psyched about it. I want to see, Gyro play. I want to see Derry Doherty play. I want to see these artists play. Kevin Robinson, like from Viva Voce. I want to see these artists play. Like, it's cool. It's amazing. And I mean, absolutely, $10 a month, I would be psyched out of my mind. Like, that's just personally me, not trying to, push it any other way, but absolutely, man, it's amazing.
Yeah, and what I really love is being in contact with Ted from Craig's brother, and actually, so each artist, they're going to play 2 songs each, and actually asking, hey, can I make a request? And I asked if he said, some songs may be hard to play solo, but I said, what about Potential? So that's the last that's the last song on Homecoming. And, these are conversations we can't wait to have. I think Homecoming makes my top 10, maybe,
really,
of all time. Like, I love that album, but he's definitely going to play Potential live. And so some of these artists, like I've been in touch with whoever is emailing for Derry Daughtry, and I said, can he play at least one song from either Wide-Eyed Wonder or Circle Slide? Because that's where we discovered the choir. So, those kind of things are just neat as a fan running this club with you guys and being able to say, hey, can you play a song from Circle Slide? I mean,
dude,
that's just
amazing.
So much fun, man.
Incredible.
I feel like I'm at Disney World.
I know. It's like Christmas in April. Like, I do. Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we're excited for other people to have fun with us, man.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Well, I mean, I'm really honored that you guys have brought me along on this journey, and it's cool. I love the connection we've had, and I'm really, really grateful, that we've been able to see the same mindset and the same vision. Yeah. What do you feel like the future looks like for you guys individually?
Individually with this club?
Well, let's go with this club and personally.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I wouldn't have invested so much time and energy and creative mind vibes, whatever you want to call it, as if I didn't think it was something that could really take off. At the same time, if this is something that kind of stays a moderate size, but a lot of people enjoy it, that's going to be fun also. But I really do see this as something that as more people join, it gives us more margin and more resources to be able to do more stuff. And I don't think it's out of the cards for us to eventually have online shows with a really good sound quality and the full band. But for me, I'm entering, I mean, it's crazy, but in 5 years I'll be an empty nester. And so I plan on continually producing podcasts. That's kind of my full-time gig at the church outside of some other ministry oriented stuff, but I produced a podcast with that. And so I see this as something that I'll be able to dedicate even more time as I get older and the kids start moving out. And I'm one of those guys, I'm in it for the long haul. So I see this as something that we'll be doing for a long time.
Absolutely. Jared.
Well, I'm a consumer of art. Always have been, always will be. I've never produced art, but I freaking love movies and I love music. And I think that as I grow older, I appreciate music and movies more and more and more. So to be a part of this community where we discuss music, the music that I love, the music I've loved for the last 40 years is super exciting for me. So I'm excited to see where the path takes us. But as I grow older, like I said, I really want to keep enjoying art.
Absolutely. I love that. Those are both profound statements. I think for the same for me, I love music. It changed my life. It changed the trajectory of my life. I'm obsessed with it in a beautiful way. I'm just a person with a voice, and I love talking to people. I love communicating. I love community. I think that's what makes the world go round. So I think just being linked with you guys, I think I'm really honored, and I'm really stoked to see what the future brings for us. And, roster club music, it's going to be cool. It's going to be awesome. I'm really stoked to be a part of it. And Roster Podcast Network is another thing that, we're trying to implement, and there's other podcasts obviously that would be involved in that at some point. So that's another thing that we're excited about. So, man, you guys are awesome. Really stoked. It's cool that we've talked on text, and this is like the first real deal. And I feel a connection with you guys. Of course, I think I told you that the other day, Joey. It's like, I feel like we're on the same page. We're all like-minded, and I think that's half the battle. And it's a blessing, to know you guys in general. And I feel like this is going to be a beautiful thing. So,
yep, we feel the same way. It feels like a seamless relationship building, just kind of like it just all of a sudden we're doing this together and everything. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Well, thank you guys, coming on the podcast. Of course, this is, something that we all.
It's a unique show.
Yeah,
for you,
it really
huh?
is. But I love it though because it was actually, our guards were down and we're just talking tunes and talking music and talking about the future. So yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate you guys coming on the podcast and really grateful for you guys. And I'm stoked for the future. Thank you, listener, for tuning in again and again. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. If you'd like to add me on Instagram and Facebook at The Rumors Are True Cast. If you would like to like and subscribe, you know the drill. If you're interested in the Roster Music Club Network, there is a link in the link tree on my bio. So if that's something you're interested in, by all means, check it out. So thank you again. Thank you to Joey and Jared. Really excited for this journey and for your time to talk about the future. So I really appreciate you guys this time. Guys, you know it. We've got some incredible artists on the horizon. And man, nostalgia is still a heck of a drug.
The podcast is produced by Wesley Hill, artwork by Jared Chase Bowser, and music by Brian Jaron. This episode is dedicated to the memory of my dear friend, producer, and man of many talents, Brian Jaron.